The part that I would love is if they enabled that anytime I am traveling, now because we've made Kenya visa free, you know what? Reciprocity. That I can also go to any country that is visa free and pay the $30 and I'm good to be accepted in this country. This would be a dream come true for us Kenyans. Now, hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Queen Desta Reacts. Anyway, today I'm gonna be talking about this long overdue question that I keep getting once in a while about is Kenya visa free and how all those logistics are, and I'm also interested in hearing what other people have to say in relation to Kenya being visa free. Now, some time back, the president of Kenya, William Ruto, his honorable William Ruto, declared Kenya to be visa free for all people visiting Kenya, and that has its advantages and disadvantages. The debate has always been between, first of all, let's address this. It's not visa free to me, like there's no payment. I've had this ETA that you keep paying, that you have to pay $30 at least 48 hours before you come into Kenya. The interesting part, and why at some point I had a delay in responding to people, remember I'm Kenyan, so I never need to have a visa to come to Kenya. So being able to tell you on that, based on my experience, I've never had this experience, so it can only be my stories and the things that I've had from people. But basically what I've had now, it has been running for some time. That is what you need. Another concept I have to say about the Kenya visa when you're coming to Kenya is be cautious about the East African visa that people keep applying. That's also another loophole that so many people are caught up in. Unless you're landing in Kenya, what was before the East African visa application, make sure it's first beginning with Kenya. Now, there's this whole story of Kenya being made visa free has brought up two different perspectives. So the first one is like, Kenya, thank you very much for being so, generous, accepting us from different countries, like being like, you've opened your doors for us to visit. And from different people's perspective, it's going to improve trade, tourism will go high, and I guess people will come. Then on the other side is on, why would we as Kenyans make Kenya visa free while unfortunately in other places that we have to go to, we still need to apply visas? Or even worst case scenario, like even in African countries, anywhere, like basically our visa applications kinda still remain. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think about this whole visa. On which side are you, and what is your idea on what would have been a better idea? Or is this for a better? Some people reason out like, I wish Kenya would make it visa free for Africans and people, so that like that's a whole discussion that we should have sometime about African countries being open for every African to be able to visit. And today I want to hear what Al Jazeera has to say. I have to say I am, because of a lot of things said out here, I am also like keen to hear what they have to say concerning this matter.
Kenya is now the 5th country in Africa to go visa-free for all visitors.
After the visa-free directive by President William Ruto took...
I didn't even know there are five African countries that have gone visa-free. I know of Rwanda, now Kenya. Educate me, tell me down below what are other 3 African countries that have made the visa-free situation possible. And also keep discussing about how, is this what is for the good of the country, like for the country itself. Yeah.
Took effect. The first batch of visa-free arrivals landed at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
And while this may boost Kenya's tourism industry, many Africans, including Kenyans, still face travel restrictions.
That's basically what we just talked about. And then he said, it is gonna boost tourism. I'm out here thinking, it's not like for many people, especially quote unquote the tourists that visit, and like, apart from Africans, it wasn't hard for them to get a visa. Basically within like 3 days they would be able to get the visa. So I still don't get this. And their visa application is not necessarily the same as what it means for me when I'm saying I need to apply a visa. So for example, let's say what country I want to go to, Australia. My application visa has to have like a whole long procedure that includes interviews and stuff like this. But for an Australian to come to Kenya this is even before the visa-free thing came up, then they don't have to, they just have to apply on their computers and they're good to go, something like this. So I'm just thinking, yes, the tourism aspect is gonna be increased, but I don't feel like many people per se, especially tourists, had struggles to do with visas. The part that I would love is if they enabled that anytime I am traveling, now because we've made Kenya visa free, you know what? Reciprocity. That I can also go to any country that is visa free and pay the $30 and I'm good to be accepted in this country. This would be a dream come true for us Kenyans. Now, if any Kenyan is watching, let me know in the comment section down below. Apart from the business people that would say it's improving their business, well, that could lead to economy if that's true, like it's going up and stuff like this. As individuals, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Has it improved like our travel experience? Has it improved our international relationship?
Malawi is the latest country in Africa to lift visa restrictions, but it's only for 79 countries, unlike Kenya, which has dropped them entirely.
Wow, so now we know the other country is Malawi, which actually does not affect me because either way, from the first place, Malawi was visa free, so there's necessarily no difference in that way. But is it smarter that they actually did not give access to all countries? Because we can't also fail to remember about how as Africans we've quote unquote been taken for granted for being able to be accessed, for us to be like, you know what, you don't know how to dress up, let me show you how to dress up, such kind of things. Like does this give another room for more access? Should Kenya have given, you know what, we are giving visa free, but like not to everybody. You're giving visa free to like 79 countries like Malawi. It's an interesting political and unfortunately affecting our social and livelihood and stuff like this. Well, let's see.
Drop them entirely.
Kenya will be a visa-free country.
That's Kenyan President William Ruto announcing last December that his country would go visa-free for all visitors.
It shall no longer be necessary for any person from any corner of the globe to carry the burden of applying for a visa to come to Kenya.
See, I'm triggered hearing the president talk because he's out here solving international people's problems while Kenyans are out here queuing at the passport place to get their passport and missing their opportunities on chances or things that they could be doing. It's so crazy. It's so crazy to be making life easier for people that are coming and their life was not as hard, and then now like our life is hard. I don't know, there's no printing situations for the passport. Like, of all the things, before you make Kenya visa free, I'm sorry, I'm ranting for Kenyans, before you make Kenya visa free, at least make passports available for Kenyans with some degree of ease.
The first batch of visa-free visitors arrived there on January 5th. Here's one of them.
This was very easy and like very convenient because I could like apply at once for all my family members.
And while the initiative was well received by some visitors, we wondered how Kenyans are reacting to it.
I'm keen to hear, because welcome to Kenya. Please come visit and remember to travel with Desta Travels. We are happy to show you Kenya. I'm just out here speaking on behalf, reacting as a Kenyan and how this is serving me as a Kenyan. Yeah. But I just feel like we still have other problems that should have been solved before we are making Kenya visa free.
Well, it's interesting. I think reactions from Kenyans online have been mixed.
That's Parcello Olakante.
I am based in Nairobi and I am the Politics and Society editor at African Arguments, which is a Pan-African media platform.
Okay.
So, Parcello, can you give us a sense of how people are responding to this whole visa-free initiative?
You know, on the one hand, a lot of people receive the news quite positively, but there have been folk who have been rather more skeptical about the intentions of the visa waiver. You know, is this a kind of ideological position in which Kenya is proclaiming that there is no visitor in Kenya. The whole world is welcome. I think Mr. Ruto has developed the slogan, welcome home. Kenya being the birthplace, or East Africa being the birthplace of humanity. Is it anything more than a slogan to develop tourism, to maximize revenues, or is it a bigger thing?
Kenyans
Absolutely. In that case, we cannot just know if this is another scheme to open doors, and now we have everyone in Kenya. Recently, I was talking about the number of Chinese that are now enjoying life here in Kenya. You know, it's easy, accessible. Both just jump in. You know, like any door being open, anyone can come in. All good intentions, bad intentions, anyone. Yeah, so it's hard to know, especially with the level at which we cannot necessarily trust our politicians, because we've done that and sometimes it backfires on us. But the thing is, welcome to Kenya. I do not have a problem with people coming to Kenya. I am happy to welcome you, to show you my country, and, you know, to see. Yeah.
Or is it a bigger thing?
Kenyans have shown time and again that we are not afraid of the world beyond our borders.
Okay. We sure are not afraid of the world beyond our borders. So give people passports so they can see outside Kenya, beyond borders, right?
Kenya hopes this initiative will greatly expand its tourism industry, setting yearly expectations at a whopping $9.5 billion. But aside from helping tourism, critics worry that this might not be as revolutionary a move as it may seem.
Now, quite a few folk have pointed out that it seems to be nothing more than a kind of business and tourism strategy, rather than the kind of proclamation that Kenya wants to be seen as a trailblazer, or at least one of the few African trailblazers, radically reforming visa and travel regimes across the continent and beyond.
Critics argue that the no visa system...
So, let's say, for example, in the continent of Europe, in the continent of America, there is free access, kinda. Unlike here in Africa, where we are bonded by these borders. So I feel like if this initiative was to come in order to support us in a more favorable way, it could be to give access to the people of the continent to be able to come and first of all do trade. And I look forward to the day that Africa will be able to work as a team and be able to believe in ourselves, and for sure we can fight bigger things and we can overcome bigger challenges. Yeah. But does that mean we are still colonized somehow? That our heads still think we need to let everyone be able to come and access us? Yeah. Well, maybe I'm now diverting from this conversation. This conversation is about visa free. So long story short, I'm just saying, welcome to Kenya. Welcome to Kenya. It's amazing that I am able to visit, my friends are able to come visit me, they're able to come to Kenya. We can be impromptu, spontaneous. You're traveling wherever and you'll be like, you know what, Kenya, here it is. Tourism is a very good idea. I'm just hoping that it's not going to be a come let's help Kenya as we tour situation that will be going on. And right intentions about Kenya will be put out there.
It's the continent and beyond.
Critics argue that the no visa system is little more than a government strategy to quickly boost revenue during tough economic times. And the numbers do back that up. Kenya generated $1 million in just the first 7 days of the no visa system. Also, some Kenyans are concerned about potential reciprocal measures from countries that previously did not require a visa or ETA for entry into Kenya. A lot of our listeners in places like the UK and America, they might not realize just how difficult it is for many Africans to travel internationally or even around Africa.
Al Jazeera, thank you for pointing it out. So many people don't know, and I don't blame them for not knowing. It's just the same thing I was saying, I wouldn't know how the experience is for people to visit Kenya, in terms of visa, because I haven't gone through the same experience. So for them as Europeans and Americans, them having the ease of travel, they will not know how hard or how restricted or how strict it is for Africans per se, not even just Kenyans, for Africans to be able to access these countries. So I'm keen to hear what you say after this very, very profound statement.
I mean, if you have a UK passport, you can pretty much go wherever you want. But Africans can face challenges and restrictions when trying to move within and outside Africa. So can you give us a sense of what it's like to go from one country to another?
Okay, before I give you a sense of what it is for one to move from one country to another, as he said, this measure really doesn't have so much difference because, as I said, those people are able to travel easy. So how it is for us, you have, let's hear what they have to say. I feel like on this channel I've talked about visa applications and how sometimes they become serious, complicated, not funny situations. So let's hear from other people's experience.
I wouldn't want to overstate the point of the difficulty of traveling within Africa, because I think there have been very progressive steps taken by the African Union, taken by individual African countries to ease travel within the continent.
Here's Kenyan President William Ruto advocating for a visa-free Africa.
27 countries in Europe today with 430 million people removed visas. We still have visas. Having visa restrictions amongst ourselves is working against us.
Now, visa travel is a very specific kind of travel. You know, this is a continent that hosts refugees. Now, these are not people who travel from one country to the next using a visa, right?
Okay.
This is also a continent in which, of total African migration.
Now, I have a question, yeah? This visa-free, this making Kenya visa-free, was it to serve the refugees or was it to serve the tourism and the intertrade between countries? Like, what really was the goal?
Over 80% happens within the continent. And of that, basically, of every 10 Africans traveling, 8 of them are traveling within the continent. On top of that, 85% of travel within the continent is happening across borders and overland. Now, a lot of visa travel, the vast majority of visa travel is going to happen via airports. But the vast majority of travel on the continent by Africans is happening overland.
Right.
And while, of course, there are very clear protocols of that travel, what needs to be understood is that a lot of that travel is happening informally across borders. So travel on the continent, while quite difficult, while quite closely regulated by immigration officials, by national police forces, and while being extremely difficult just because of the barriers that have been put up, it's not impossible.
Right, but I would say that not impossible isn't the standard we're going for, right? And this is part of this, is an effort to make not impossible easier so we can facilitate better trade, fair to say?
Absolutely, a very good point. It's important to recognize that there is African Free Movement Protocol, a treaty that was ratified by several African countries in the last few years. You know, the treaty itself was proclaimed over 30 years ago in Abuja. And the protocol to the treaty establishing the African Economic Community, which is related to the free movement of persons, the right of residence and right of establishment, is a fundamental principle of the African Union. This is to say that there have been very progressive moves made by kind of African continental authorities to ensure the goal of having an African continent which enshrines the freedom of movement of every African individual.
So, well, you know, the good thing is we are here to sit and see, and we will definitely see if situations get better in terms of how we are able to travel ourselves within the continent. And well, we keep singing and shouting visa free, but necessarily there is the ETA, which comes with a price to be paid. And I've heard of different prices. Some say $80, some say $35. Also, I've heard of if you are visa free to come to Kenya, unfortunately now you have to pay this ETA price. Yeah, if you've traveled to Kenya recently, let me know in the comment section, how was your experience in relation to this visa situation? I'd be glad to hear what you have to say. It's interesting. Kenya is a very interesting country when it comes to the tourism world. I don't know why for a minute I remembered about the tax situation when it comes to people coming into the country and things like this. Anyway, I digress. If you ever want to quote me, yes, you're welcome to Kenya. Yes, and now we are visa free for sure. You can visit just within like 48 to 24 hours. You'll be able to get your ETA and you're able to come and visit Kenya from anywhere in the world. And that's it. I can't stand this Al Jazeera talk anymore before they trigger me. And so therefore, let's call it a video. I'll see you on the next one.